Hey everybody, this is a clip from the latest episode of the Randi Rhodes Show. If you want the full episode, you can watch live on Free Speech TV, Dish Channel 9415, DirectTV 348, Sling, Roku, and AppleTV.
Mary had a little man.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe it.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mood.
Incredible military equipment at a level that nobody's ever seen before. We have no choice. We have to do it.
Oh my God.
With the adversaries we have out there. We have, I call it the SuperDuper Missile. And I heard the other night 17 times faster than what they have right now. Then you take the fastest missile we have right now.
The SuperDuper Missile. If the Space Force can help us with mail delivery, I'm for it. If not, then could we not do it? I mean, this is just so. I hope he didn't distract from the solemnity of the occasion of naming the U.S. Space Force another branch of our military by calling it. I mean, this sounds like something you get on the box of Cracker Jacks. And then he went on to say that it goes 7 times faster than anything we have and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, my God, shut up. You're not supposed to be talking about this. He's everything he does is to self-aggrandize. Everything he does is to make himself look like he's, the strongest, the fastest, strongly and quickly. That's this whole thing. And he just lies and lies. Azar was on the TV this weekend on State of the Union, and they asked him about this freaking vaccine. And Azar actually said, this is just so, I had to, because you wouldn't believe me if I just told you that he said this. So I pulled it. I mean, the Secretary of Health and Human Services actually said the vaccine may not be safe and the vaccine may not be efficacious, meaning it doesn't work, but we'll have one.
Operation Warp Speed, which is what the White House is calling this push to have a vaccine by the end of the year. 300 million doses is the promise. Can you be clear here? Is the pledge that all 328 million Americans will be able to get a shot in their arm by the end of the year?
Well, Margaret, let's be clear. That's a goal. And, I think the Gretzky's once said that you fail to achieve 100% of the goals you don't set. And so it's not a pledge. It's a goal of what we're going to mobilize the entire U.S. government and private sector to achieve. What happened is, these drug companies and vaccine makers, they all said it's going to take this amount of time because they're using their traditional approaches. You do phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 trials in sequence, then you do manufacturing. Well, the president said that's not acceptable. So what we're doing is wringing the inefficiency out of the development process to make the development side faster to get to safe and effective vaccines. And at the same time, we're going to scale up commercial size manufacturing and produce hundreds of millions of doses at risk. They may not pan out. They might not prove to be safe and effective, but we'll have it so we could begin administration right away.
What? They may not pan out. They may not prove to be safe and effective, but we'll have it so we can begin administration right away. This isn't meant to save lives. This is meant to save Trump's job. And would you, now that we know that the antibody tests were bullcrap, there's a story today in the homework section at randirhodes.com. Click on the homework. It's free. Go read it about how Advent Health did 25,000 COVID tests in Central Florida, and those tests were absolutely unreliable. Same thing with the Abbott quick test. 50% of the time they're right, 50% of the time they're wrong, which makes them useless. Would you take a vaccine while Donald Trump is president? Because I'm no anti-vaxxer, but trust me, not a chance in hell, baby, that I would take a vaccine that came from this administration that I would allow my Jessica or Howard or anybody I care for, my mother, for God's sake, no way. No way, because this isn't meant to save lives. This is meant to save Donald Trump's job. And if it does that, they'll consider killing even more people. They'll just deny their mortality stats, right? Just like Georgia is doing. Georgia put up bogus charts. Everybody was wondering, how is Georgia, they're open, they've been open for 2 weeks, and they're saying, oh, the cases are going down, actually going, because they phonied up the stats. They put days not in order. Okay, so you have like April 8th, and then you have May 10th, and then you have April 9th, and then you have May 11th next to each other. I mean, they are phoning up all of the stats to just freak people out, to make people think it's safe, to make people think you don't need to wear a mask, to make people think social distancing is bullcrap, don't need to do it. I mean, this is the most dysfunctional bureaucracy this side of the old Soviet Union. Well, actually, it's starting to feel like Chernobyl. It's starting to feel like that. Just a giant meltdown. People dead everywhere. We're just about to hit 90,000 dead people. You know that? 90,000. It's 89,874 right now. I mean, this is just unacceptable. And he doesn't care. You know, Tony Schwartz, who wrote The Art of the Deal, He was on TV saying that he was wrong. He was wrong. He thought that Donald Trump was, really about just making money, and that, he would make money even through fraudulent means. But oh no, he's finally come to the conclusion that Donald Trump is a sociopath, that he really doesn't care about anything. He feels no shame. He feels no guilt. And that for him is the freedom to commit homicide.
I've always assumed, like most people have, that the primary motivation is to be loved and admired and recognized and praised. That is a motivation, but the deeper motivation is domination, is to win. And that is a function of the fact that he has no conscience.
Aye.
And let's be clear, no conscience. And this is really hard for us to understand. So he doesn't make a distinction between right or wrong, nor does he feel a distinction between right or wrong. So when he is inventing stories and lies and a reality that is of his own making, he's doing it without any shame or guilt. And that is an enormous advantage in a situation where most people would be limited by their respect for the truth and by their concern for how they were going to have an impact on others. He doesn't care. The deaths, I know this is extreme, the deaths don't matter to him.
God.
If it's a decision between saving himself and saving others, it is no contest.
Now, Tony Schwartz spent many hours with Donald Trump. He's the one who actually wrote Art of the Deal. Donald Trump, like he does everything else, slapped his name on it. Half these buildings, he didn't, well, none of the buildings except for the one on Fifth Avenue was ever built by Donald Trump, okay? His father built a whole bunch of, disgusting brick, low-rent garden apartments in Queens. The rest of it, Donald Trump just slaps his name on, okay? He doesn't build anything. The one thing, that he bought the casinos in Atlantic City, bankrupted them, stiffed all the contractors, never felt remorse. People did hard work for him. It doesn't, just no conscience.
Clear for takeoff. The Randi Rhodes Air Force. Air Force. RandiRhodes.com.
Go to RandiRhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.